Well, hello everybody. Welcome
Ooh.
to virtual Thursdays. Well, actually, we've shortened it because sometimes we're not on Thursdays anymore. We're on whenever, but mostly Thursday. Virtual mostly Thursdays Dire Literary Series. And we've got someone that I've known for a bit locally in Massachusetts. Our feature is it's not Graham Goodrich, it's Linda Carney-Goodrich. And let me give a little bit of well, she changes her name. Here is her website, lindacarneygoodrich.com, all one word. Linda Carney-Goodrich is a writer and teacher from Boston. Her work has appeared in Nixes Mate Review, Anti-heroin Chic, Literary Mama, Muddy River Poetry Review, Wordgathering, Journal of Disability Poetry and Literature, Gyroscope Review, City of Notions, and an anthology of contemporary Boston poems, and forthcoming in the MacGuffin. Over the years, several poems of hers have been displayed on the walls of City Hall as part of the annual Boston Mayor's Poetry Program, judged by Boston Poet Laureate. Linda is the poetry coordinator and does so much for the Menino Art Center in Hyde Park. And she's also the acclaimed author and writer of many books of poetry. The most recent one is the critically renowned Dot Girl. And for a few folks out of town, Dot is short for Dorchester. So Linda's gonna read for us for a few minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, and then we're gonna chat about her childhood, and we'll go into full psychotherapy mode, I hope.
Oh, I hope not. I I I think I have a little more than 5 or 7. So if
That's
you
fine.
okay. Just so you can have a taste of flavor of the book. It's hard to narrow it down. Okay, I'll start in Dorchester, where the water meets the sky. We move in fog, in reek of fish, sneaking out screenless windows at night, climbing down garage roofs or window tapping trees. In slick, shiny streets, under faint blue light, we dance in silence to the beach. The bosses and their workers snore through the perfect time. We scream our names like angry owls under the bridge by the beach. Your brother slept here, where the tunnel curves by the road. One night he saw us. He was singing the Rolling Stones. Knees winked from holes in his filthy white pants. Car lights flashed him a spotlight of shame. We pretended not to hear him say, "Get out of here." The sand is sharp, but we go barefoot. Tiny pieces of glass prick our feet, reminding us of pain we haven't felt. The air is foul and alive as we strip down under each other's star-like eyes. The two of us back float, white stick bodies in bruised and murky water. Only hands touching, we breathe out the memories of the day, stare at celestial light born before we were. You claim there's a spot where the water meets the sky, where souls swim free and no one calls them home. In the morning, we sneak back, wake our parents, and remind them to take us to school. Uncle Hugh. I remember the day my dad punched your face in. We kids were all laughing over the banister. Oh, we laughed. The story went that you came without calling to catch Dad at his worst. Oh, you loved seeing him that way. You pretended you came to see us because it was Christmas and you had presents. I wondered what they were. Imagined crisp wrapping paper and bows. Just for a moment, I hoped you'd win. Take the 10 of us out into the night somehow. We'd all fit in the back of your big black car. How it would smell like Aunt Mary's wind song. We'd drive off into the night and swim in your pool. I can picture your hair shiny with Vitalis. A cleaner version of my father. You wore a tie for nothing. Your kids did not know how to make screwdrivers. Your wife thought she was pretty in her makeup and fancy clothes. Oh, how we loved to make fun of you two. Really, we did. We loved that we never had to see us again. How did it happen that you had a car, that your kids were clean and had nice clothes? How exactly was it that you wore a black suit and shiny shoes while my dad in bare feet and underwear strained to knock your teeth out onto our kitchen floor? My mother's eyes were birds. Sometimes they were shy chickadees and others violent chickens, scared, angry, constantly pecking. Oh, there were the buzzard days and seagull days when her eyes cried themselves in two purple whirlpools swirling slow, sad circles in the skies of our dingy kitchen. On Blue Jay Day, she fought ghosts in the living room, worm catching days when she wore a robin's red apron, got things done, cleaned house, scoured children. Then there were the ostrich days where she fluttered through the house to her own awkward rhythms. She wore short skirts, drew faces of men and women on her knees and thighs. See how they dance, she chirped. I absorbed her calls and flight patterns. My sister said my mother's true eyes were hiding, that they had once beamed blue like a queen's heart. I searched for them in the filthy pockets of her housecoats, a jewelry box where she kept little nests of our auburn hair. I yearned to hold them in my hands, to wear them like gems, to glimmer in her knowing and wither with her stare. I'm not doing too bad on time. I'll do two from St. Anne's. This is a found poem called Father Mahan Found. It was about our neighborhood priest. He was removed, released back into the community. The cardinal was aware. No one else was told. Not the police or his own family. He was reassigned with little supervision. Records were kept, records were sealed. The cardinal was informed. It happened again. He was removed, then reassigned. His sister wrote he was bringing teens to his home. Mahan asked to be defrocked. I'm a sleaze. My disease runs so deep I can't be trusted. He was removed, then reassigned, received no oversight, ran Boy Scouts, Legion of Mary, summer camp, 2 grades of school. A 12-year-old jumped off his boat, swam to shore to escape. The police asked questions. They were deflected. They said they respected the workings of the church. He was removed, reassigned. No one told the families. He molested his own nephews. In 1976, a 2nd grade student told a nun who twisted her arm, never say anything like that again. And one more from St. Anne's, closest to God. Just so happened that I lived on Pope's Hill Street when the Pope came to visit Boston, and I thought it was a remarkable sign. Pope John Paul II arrives in Boston in his fancy roofless car, close to Tinian Beach where Bulger buries bodies under the sharp rocks we call sand, where we kids sweat like dogs, our tongues panting for bomb pops. His Pope wave renders the crowd silent as church. The vicar of Christ is debonair in his white cape and rubied fingers. As his ride slows, I pray he'll throw us bits of candy and gold. He meets my stare, his eyes, sapphire knives, cutting away all that isn't mine. I picture my family like ants crushed beneath his wheels. So I could end there or do one more, whatever you prefer.
I say you do one more.
Okay. I'll do one on a version of forgiveness, and I'll end it with that. If I could time travel, I would visit my father. He told me about the first time he woke up in the back of a U-Haul drunk at 6 a.m. He was 17 and it happened again and again. The bottle inserted itself into his hands, downed itself his throat. For decades, it poured itself into clear bottles, packed itself into his lunchbox at the post office. It memorized his zip codes. If I were permitted, I would time travel, go visit my father in the U-Haul before he is a man. If I could go, as I am now, all middle-aged and fearless, I could look at him like he might be my son. I can see him as my son. I can touch his shoulder before it all goes worse. In this pivotal moment, I would return a great mother like God disrupting tides. I sometimes imagine I can will myself there, cure the family illness, wake him, disrupt the repeat. Is it useless to dream of being a god or shaman? Can I love without forgiveness? It must count for something, this vision in its amber light that I can revisit any time, replay, rebuild the story, be the sunlight grasping through the U-Haul dingy window, make it be love, the star to wake him.
That is awesome. Well, great stuff. Are you still live in Dorchester?
No, I'm in Hyde Park. I got really far.
Do you run into people that know this story or know some of the ins and outs? I remember the writer Michael McDonald was like, I can't go back to South Boston because everyone knows my story, and they're not too happy that some of the secrets were revealed. Have you had any of those moments?
You know, it's a different time, but Michael did read my book and write a blurb for it for the back as testimony on the cover. And so that was really quite meaningful to me because his book inspired me a lot when I was, a younger, single mom at the time. And it was, oh, we can write about this stuff. Amazing. Um, I do run into people sometimes. I would say mostly it's been positive. I have heard grumblings from some people. I mean, the stuff that I'm writing about is from 4 decades ago. Do you know? But there's still this what happened in Dorchester should stay there. Um, People who don't necessarily think things that are well documented actually occurred. That Father Mahan poem,
Yeah.
that's directly from the Spotlight team, and records that were unsealed from the Catholic Church. That happened.
And
Um,
things like that shouldn't stay in Dorchester, if you just transfer him all around different parishes.
they did. They moved him around to many parishes, and he did, in fact, molest his nephews. Like that. That was like the ultimate. Like, and Father Mahan was. I don't want to go down that road.
So how about that poem? Was that a Pantun?
That, what's funny that you heard that? There are makings of that in there. I do love that form. I feel like it can contain a lot of difficult subject matter. It's a really great container. But no, I didn't quite go all the way there. I do use a repetition. I thought I could try to forge it into that, but I don't know. I left it as it was. But that's interesting that you heard that in there.
These poems and stories are very personal to you and personal to your trauma. So when you were writing them, did it feel like a Band-Aid was being ripped off, or was a Band-Aid being placed over?
That's an interesting question. I've been writing some version of this probably for 2 decades, right? I had a one-woman show called The Secret Childhood Diary of a Welfare Mother that I used to do in my 20s. And I wouldn't say none of the poems in this book were there, but the makings of that were. So I don't know, I've been doing it for so long, and then all of my studies have been sort of like I studied trauma and resilience and recovery. For my bachelor's degree, also for my master's degree, it was in arts and education and how to build programs that help build resilience for people. And I've always been thinking about arts and community, but also I I feel like when I read poetry, I love all poetry. I want to say like all forms. I love spoken word. I like slam poetry. I like formal. I like very old stuff. I really love it all. But what I like best is to know if I read a poem, can I feel what it is to be you? Can I feel what it's like to be in your shoes? Because I'm limited to my own life experience. I don't know anymore. And so that's what I want to get out of poetry. And I hope I can deliver that as well. And I hope that the story is more than a personal story, that I like to try to use it as an extended metaphor to talk about trauma, because I think not only do we store trauma in our own individual bodies, we store our trauma in neighborhoods and in institution and in government. And I think calling things by their true name provides relief for all of us, right? It's part of like to try to make change. So I hope I'm naming something that somebody else went through that they haven't been able to yet. I'm hoping I'm doing something of use with it. Otherwise, I'd rather not have it out there. So that's like, how
Wow.
do you know? How do you know that you've done that? That's from going to workshops, having people that you trust read your work and give you feedback. And did I answer your, I thought it was
Yes.
rambling.
You answered it perfectly. I mean, you've done more than one person show,
Mm.
and the books on the subject matter. And you're saying how difficult it was, like why bother if it's not going to make this difference? But have you always been able to present yourself? Like, were you putting on plays in the backyard when you were a kid, or was it something that you just developed, uh, some acceleration of your consciousness?
Whoa.
No,
That's
I just came up with that bullshit. I had no idea that that's how the question was going, but
No, I didn't do that, but I had a free poetry program through the community center in my neighborhood at the Murphy School, which was also a newly built community center. It was that school was under construction when I was a little girl. And I had an encounter with a poetry teacher who probably opened up a whole world of possibility for me. And the poems that I encountered, I don't remember them all now. I remember one was a Langston Hughes about dreams, and the other was Emily Dickinson. Well, those were like spells or incantations for me. And, now as I've gotten older and read more of these poets and know more about their lives, I'm thinking, oh, that's so powerful that these magic words reached me across decades and even death, right? You know, so that lit a bulb, I guess.
Paul has a question. Do you feel that there is a power or a quality that is in your writing that you can only transmit by speaking it?
That's interesting. I love that question. I love that question so much. Wow. Wow. Well, the book exists without my voice, right? So that means that anyone could read it. And they could read these poems anyway. And I had to get over that. I mean, they're not scored, right? Um, but I do feel there's something in me anyway. The poems come, not all of them, but a lot of them come with a voice and a sound. And I feel like I have to honor that. I am mindful. I love poetry and I love to study poetry. And I wouldn't say I wouldn't get an MFA in my life. I just hadn't. I went to school for education when it came for my master's degree, and that's probably a class thing, I would say, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I would call it that. But all of this to say, long before we were studying poetry and there were books to tell us what poets are doing in MFA programs, people were writing poetry, and before there was paper and pen and computers and all this stuff, people were reciting it like it was an oral form that, in my opinion, that is probably true. I don't know. What do you think? I think it is an
Yeah.
oral tradition. And so I feel like there is something sort of, I'm tuned in, there is some power there. However, sometimes I'm writing and I'm writing alone and I'm not speaking. There's so many poems I've written I'm never going to share. And they, some more than others, move me and I can feel the power of them. It's almost like if I feel the power, then I know I'm onto something or I'm going the right way. I don't know. That was sort of
Yeah, I
roundabout.
mean, I've changed my view on it that I just totally feel like both the spoken word and the poem on paper, they exist at the same time, and there's nothing wrong with either. And you can read a poem that's a spoken word poem and be like, I'm reading it as a spoken word poem. Like it, and the quality
Yeah.
is so good these days in poetry that it's just a very thin line. You talked about arts and community. You're doing so much running various series, and I think you just picked up another series.
Mhm.
What's the most rewarding part of that, and what's the most frustrating?
Oh, wow. Okay, the most rewarding part is seeing the light go on for other people. The most rewarding part is seeing someone get up to an open mic and read something for the first time. And then next year, you see that they're publishing something or they're trying something new or they're writing in a way they never thought of before. And that community or connecting, I really, really like to be a bridge. I like to connect. Oh, you know this person. Oh, you don't know this person. Oh, if you're doing that kind of poetry, you should know this person, and connecting people that way. That really excites me to think about. When I'm planning a poetry readings, as much as that is possible, I try to have a representation of different kinds of poets, different voices, different ways of using poetry, different styles, and that matters to me. It matters to me because I've heard too many people tell me they hate poetry. So I'm trying to like make everyone in my neighborhood understand that they actually probably like poetry more. They're probably thinking about, 10th grade English where they had to memorize something and were told what the meaning was. Like they didn't get to really experience it. So when I can bring a convert in, when I can bring someone, when I can convert someone, when someone comes in and says, oh, now I like poetry, it's like, oh, that's super exciting. So there's that. I like building new venues. I am worried in the current times we're in, but I guess in all times, there's always something to be worried about. But I see arts being cut, arts being devalued. And I just wonder why we would want to cut the arts. And I think, well, to make something, you have to imagine something. And if you're making poems or music, you're it's all from your mind. You have to imagine something that isn't there. And that's what I want to ignite that power in all people that we can make new things. Like I just and it doesn't matter what the product is. That's what's really super exciting to me.
Do you think we'll ever reach a time that spoken words will be censored? I mean, there are certain books that are being censored, but like if you say you read the wrong poem in an open mic, you can get removed from the country.
Maybe,
Can that happen?
maybe, maybe. I mean,
Does it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't I don't want to imagine that.
Because
I
I
think
found myself censoring myself on social media just because, this is dangerous stuff, opposing stuff. That is my opinion.
I know. Well, it would be really great if we could all, calm down a bit and be able to have conversations with people about their different viewpoints in a respectful way. Um, I know, for instance, the kind of person I was before I learned things. I would not agree. Like my young self, my very young self would be think very different thoughts than I do now. And it was from teachers and people having conversations with me about things. Me encountering poetry, right? Me encountering art that made me expanded my thinking. But if someone wrote me off as, I don't know, I by having conversations and like being forced to confront, I would say all the isms that I have had, those conversations benefited me greatly because I had to eventually I've changed. And when I see things in myself that need to change or expand, I do my best. So it's only through having conversations and yeah, making mistakes. Like that's how we learn. That said, I mean, there is such a thing as hate speech. I mean, that's
Out there. So last question, okay? I read in an interview that you know, your some of your work, it processes your upbringing around the Catholic Church, around segregation in your neighborhood and in Boston.
yeah.
Um, and writing has helped you process that. Have you completely processed all of this? And if you have, does it make you write more like an outsider, a processed outsider of this information?
Oh, that's a very interesting question too. I don't think so. I don't think I've processed it. No. I don't think I've fully processed it. No, I think that's a lifetime work. Being an outsider though, maybe, maybe in some ways, yes. Like especially if we're talking about things that people would rather not talk about and I'm saying it's not like I would talk about this at a party to a stranger. Hey, let's talk about Father Mahan. No, I probably would not do that, but it's in the book for anybody to see. I know there are people who would prefer not to talk about that stuff. And the people who do talk about it or knew it for what it was when it was happening, maybe they were outsiders. I don't know. I mean, I don't, that's a, that's a, I don't know if I have the answer to that. I don't think I'll ever be done processing it. It was like if you read the book, there was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of there were a lot of challenges.
And Dot Girl is an amazing book,
Mhm.
and definitely pick it up. You've heard some of it tonight. It's definitely reader friendly for those that don't know about poetry. It's definitely a reader friendly book, and those that do know about poetry, it's a wonderful book. To find out more about Linda, again, lindacarney-goodrich.com, and this is her website. And there's the book,
Yeah,
Dot Girl with over a superimposed over a map of Dorchester.
that's it.
So that is it. Thank you so much for
Hey, thanks. This was great.
and for those that are watching the stream that didn't pop into the Zoom, thank you for watching there. Traditionally, this is where I cut you off. I'm sorry, but
All right.
if you want to be on the open mic, just use the link that's posted anywhere. I'll be happy to let you in. So good night to you guys. Um,